Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Monday morning the 27th of October. In this video we're going back to Nova Scotia to the case of missing siblings 6-year-old Lily and soon to be 5-year-old Jack Sullivan from Lansdowne Station. They were reported missing at 10:01 AM by their mother Malehya Brooks-Murray on the 2nd of May, so almost 6 months ago. And Lily and Jack are nowhere to be found, despite searches, despite lots of talk, theories, facts coming out. Lily and Jack are just gone. Like so many thousands of other people. Thousands of people go missing every year, in my country as well as in yours, as well as in Canada, as well as in the United States and everywhere else in the world. The majority of them are found. Or they return home. You know, kids run away, it's panic stations, parents call the cops, a few hours later they return. But in a minority of cases, and it's difficult to quantify how many cases, but in a minority of cases, that person who is missing remains gone. And some of those people are found, sometimes weeks, sometimes months, sometimes years later. Usually deceased by that point. Occasionally, very occasionally, alive. And when those cases happen, we're all incredulous about how someone could have stayed missing for years and no one knew. But in the majority of those cases, you're talking about finding someone who is deceased. And then in the minority of cases, some people are just never found for whatever reason. So yesterday, I didn't do a recorded video like this one. I did a live stream. A case discussion. Since August, since the release of the court documents, which take us up to mid-July, we've had a steady stream of new information that's come out. Court documents tell us a lot about the investigation. They give us a lot of questions, though. Things are redacted that, in my opinion, shouldn't have been, but it is what it is. And then we've had RCMP giving updates about cadaver dogs, who have done searches of the property where Lily and Jack live, the trailer and the 2 acres surrounding it, which is owned by Janie McKenzie, who is Daniel Martel's mother, Daniel being the children's stepdad. And we've also had a steady stream of information from social media. Some of that has turned out to be factual. Some of it is rumours that is interesting but is unsubstantiated. And then we've had our fair share of out-and-out lies that have come out. And it's very difficult to determine what is fact versus what is fiction. I like to theorise in all the cases that I cover. You know, when there's a mystery, it's just natural to want to speculate on, well, why, how could this possibly have happened? And then you develop a theory and then you try to find information to support your theory, but also equally what you should be doing is trying to find information to refute your theory, which is what I did a couple of days ago. And some people misunderstood this video, but I don't know how I could make the title clearer. Daniel murdered Lily and Jack Sullivan, evidence for and against this theory. What we're going to do today is something similar, but we're going to do Malehya. And Malehya is responsible for the disappearance of Lily and Jack Sullivan, evidence for and against that theory. Let's go. Before we get into the video, can I just ask, if you're not yet subscribed, please do so. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and with your help, I can do it. Less than 3,000 to go with a little over 2 months. It would be great to get the YouTube plaque that I can put on my wall in time for Christmas. With your help, I can. Alright, without further ado, Malehya. There has been an ongoing theory about Malehya having Lily and Jack disappeared. And this originally came from Durwood O'Grady, he called himself online. His real name is Darren. He is Malehya's grandma's cousin. So grandma is Patty, Durwood is her cousin, which makes Durwood Malehya's first cousin twice removed. a lot of people, when I asked in my live stream yesterday, still believe that theory is, the one that they want to go with, because it's the best theory. It's the best outcome, isn't it? Because if it turns out that that is true and anything's on the table, I can't discount anything at this stage. I just can't. 6 months down the line, it's crazy. Can't discount anything in this case. I can logically argue against it. But a lot of people, when I asked, what's your theory, said exactly that Malehya had the children taken and she knows where they are. So, Durwood, for those who've come into the case recently, Durwood, he appeared on It's a Crime and Shame, the YouTube channel, quite a few times, and I think he was on other channels as well. Did he go on Dollyvision, I seem to remember? And his theory, and he was absolutely certain that this was true. He even had an interview with CBC News. He did tell CBC this theory. He believes he's got evidence to support it and that he knows where the children are, or at least he has a good idea of where the children are. So RCMP are aware of this. RCMP continue to say that there is no evidence of a crime. But you have to think, well, if Malehya had her own children taken, because she's the one with the custodial rights, she's the one with the parental responsibility for Lilly and Jack, if she chose to have her children taken by someone and they are safe and they are well, you have to ask yourself what crime would have been committed. None, except all of the police time she's wasted. That surely is a crime. But just having the children picked up by someone who is trustworthy and then taken, there's no crime that Daniel could argue, because Daniel has no custodial rights over Lilly and Jack. He's not their dad. He's not even married to Malehya. So he calls himself their stepdad, and, in all intents and purposes, he's been looking after Lilly and Jack for 2 years. So, yeah, I would say he's got the right to call himself their stepdad. But legally speaking, he has no rights over Lilly and Jack. Neither does Cody Sullivan, their biological father. He gave up his rights over 2 years ago. So if Malehya chose to have Lilly and Jack taken, there's no crime. The thing Durwood said was Malehya wanted to leave Daniel, and apparently Patty told Durwood to go and pick Malehya up. This is all according to Durwood, and this is a couple of weeks before Lilly and Jack disappeared. But Durwood said he didn't want to break up a family. He wasn't going to do that unless Malehya rang him and told him that she did want to leave, and then he would go and pick her up. But why would she need to be picked up? Because she's got the vehicle. Right, Daniel has a vehicle, apparently wasn't in use at the time that Lilly and Jack disappeared. When he went to look for Lilly and Jack on the 2nd of May, he used Malehya's car, the SUV. And so why, if she wanted to leave, why wouldn't she just leave? Again, Lilly and Jack have got nothing to do with Daniel legally. But then there's Meadow the little baby, who is Daniel's child. So I assume that they have joint custodial rights over Meadow. So if she wanted to leave, she could take Lilly and Jack without Daniel having a word to say about it, but not Meadow. So would it be logical for Malehya to arrange, this had to be done in person, because if this was done over the phone, I'm sure RCMP would have found the evidence for it. Again, they say there's no evidence of any crime or anything, but she could have done it in person. She was at her grandma's on the Wednesday, 2 days before Lilly and Jack went missing. So she arranges to have Lilly and Jack picked up, and she is going to then follow later on. But why? I don't understand. And this is my main logical argument against this theory. Why would you do that? all right, if you want someone to come and pick you up rather than leaving yourself because you're scared of violence and you want someone else there while you're leaving, that's fair enough. We know that Daniel's controlling. We know that there was a huge amount of problems in the relationship. And one thing for this theory is that Malehya did want to leave Daniel. She took the first opportunity to leave on May the 3rd, which is bizarre to me, that she leaves the property where her children have gone missing from. You know, it leads me and Belinda, the children's paternal biological grandmother, to think, well, she knew they weren't coming back. How could she have left when she knew that they're missing? Well, the answer is she knew they weren't coming back. But could it be something else? Could she have left because this was her opportunity to go? To take Meadow out of a situation where Daniel was very controlling, and it was the way that she could get Meadow away from him, and it's all backfired on her if that's the case, because she has also lost custody of Meadow, for the time being at least. But why wouldn't you all go together? And if you wanted someone to pick you up in case Daniel got mad, if you were scared, well, wouldn't you just all go together? I don't understand why you'd have this convoluted idea about Lilly and Jack going first and you following on later. But allegedly, Daniel and Janie believe this theory. According to Durwood, it's like, look, none of this is admissible in court. All of this is hearsay. And it's second-hand information. Durwood coming out saying that Janie's timeline fits with Malehya knowing that the children have not actually disappeared, into the woods. And Janie said herself, when she was interviewed by CBC, that when she found out that the children were missing, apparently she'd heard them in the morning in the area of the swings. She changed her story, said it was before 8:48 when her brother rang. Changed that to it was after 8:48. Is that a genuine mistake, or is there a reason for that? But when she found out the children were missing, which was shortly before 10:01, shortly before the 911 call, it was when Daniel was shouting for Lilly and Jack. So she goes out, she starts looking, but Malehya is standing there on the driveway with Meadow. She's not looking. It's odd. It's odd. It is odd. Why is she not looking? Okay, she's got Meadow, so it's not like she can go tramping through the woods. Someone has got to look after Meadow, at least, in that time before people arrive. And then once RCMP turn up, they're not going to want Malehya and Daniel to search. They want them right there, so they can keep their eyes on them and they can, start questioning them. They don't want parents to search. They don't. They really don't. But why, in that first few minutes of panic, why is she not looking around as much as she can with the baby? It's problematic. And Janie says she's just standing there. So if that's true, well, is she just standing there because she knows where Lilly and Jack are, but she has to keep up the pretense because she's going to leave later? Well, she did. The day after, she did leave. So Durwood's theory kind of has some weight to it. But again, the thing I don't understand, and I haven't seen a successful explanation for this, why Lilly and Jack go first and she follows on more than a day later. The second thing makes this theory unlikely is the timescale, that we're now 6 months down the line. If Malehya had Lilly and Jack taken, she's had to keep up this pretense for 6 months. And Lilly and Jack have to have been hidden for 6 months, whether they're on the reservation or whether they're somewhere else. And I don't believe that everybody on the reservation are protecting Malehya. I don't believe that at all. Somebody has to be, but who would be so trustworthy and so loyal to Malehya to hide Lilly and Jack for 6 months? Who? And what would be the game plan now? They can't come forward and say, oh, here they are, because of the trouble that they're going to be in. So what's the game plan? How has this gone on for 6 months? Has it happened before? Occasionally. Occasionally you get situations like this, but really not very often. It's obviously the best case scenario for Lilly and Jack, but I do think that now that this amount of time has gone, that it becomes less and less likely. The longer the situation goes on, the less likely it becomes, because surely someone would crack, someone would say something that would alert RCMP. You know, Malehya has had to keep up this pretense. She's passed a polygraph. Now, we don't know what questions Malehya was asked. We know that she answered them truthfully, but we don't know what questions she was asked. So she may not have been asked questions about, did you arrange for Lilly and Jack to disappear? It might have been questions about murdering Lilly and Jack, or Lilly and Jack being dead. Well, she could truthfully answer those questions because she knows they're alive. So there's that. But she's had numerous interviews with RCMP, and if she knew where the children were, well, she has to be a really good liar. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. Logically, it doesn't jive with me. But then again, I can't discount it. I don't have anything to say, no, this definitely did not happen. All I have is my logical argument against it. But like everything else in this case, I can't discount it. So what do you think? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.